Would you fancy if the Steve Collins thing? I mean, you've said you'd like to fight Steve, and you hope the fight would materialise. If that wouldn't, would you fancy anyone else in that division? Frankie Lyles, or I mean, Roy Jones? Could you go toe to toe with any of those?
Yes.
Even Roy Jones?
Yes. Toe to toe.
Yeah.
Not toe to toe. No.
But you could beat them, you reckon?
A fight with the likes of Roy Jones. A fight with the likes of Roy Jones is not the same fight against the likes of Steve Collins. They're two different fighters. They're in two different. I mean, Roy Jones is in a class of his own.
Oh, he would have no problem against Steve Collins.
Yeah.
Steve Collins couldn't.
And neither would I. That's my thinking. Even though yes, the man has beaten me twice, but that's the resolve or the pride or the manhood of the fighter.
Yeah.
But that's who I am. I can't change that. So excuse me for the viewers who are watching and who can't really understand a man talking this way, who has been beaten by a particular person. I say, well, I was champion too long. Too many fights too quickly. Now I've rested.
But it was your choice. I mean, you signed the deal.
It was my choice.
And you made it. You were rewarded handsomely.
Of course, yeah. £10 million over a period of a year with a great deal of money. It was a pioneering deal that I structured. No one else structured it. Barry Hearn worked with me on that deal. And all along, my attitude has been, you know, set standards. You know, set standards. It wasn't enough to just fight 5 times a year, which I had been doing over the past 5 years, 4.5 years until I got the Sky deal.
Don't worry about that. That's my questions. That's all right.
I always wanted to break records and set standards, and I kept on doing that. I was relentless. Yeah. And I remember sitting down in a press conference, and all these journalists, boxing journalists, who had come to know me over the years, who saw me as one thing to begin with, but then came to understand me a little bit more. I remember them pleading with me, you know, you can't do this, you can't keep up this type of schedule, it's impossible. But the bull-headed man that I am, or obstinate or stubborn man that I am, I thought I could do it. And I couldn't.
Yeah.
And history tells that tale. So you live and learn. I'm rested, so we'll see what happens in the near future. And that's with or without Steve Collins. I mean, listen, I'm one of the best fighters in the world. Yeah. I'm not the best fighter in the world, I'm one of them. And I've always, as a champion, I've always said that. Yeah. And as now a former champion, I say that. And that's fine with me.
Okay, well, I'm not going to ask any more questions now because we've got tons of calls, and I'm worried I'm going to ask a question that someone else is waiting on the phone ready to ask. Well, I'll more for Chris for a second, but now we've got...
Chris Eubank with us, and we're going to take some of your calls now because you've been overwhelming our phone lines. Obviously, a very popular guest. It's Stephen first from Wiltshire. Hi, Stephen.
Hello there. First of all, I'd like to congratulate Chris on and Muhammad Ali as well on giving me the inspiration I need to become the South West of England boxing champion. You provided inspiration for me, and I feel that I'm now one of the best boxers in the world. It is no understatement for a man like myself, but Chris, thank you very much. I'd also like to ask Chris, sometimes you felt on the low, what gave you the inspiration to keep on going?
What gives me the inspiration to keep on going?
Because you hate this. You've said you know you dislike, you despise boxing, and you've got the money.
When I said I dislike boxing, it's still a means, okay? And now I've come to understand that this means, I mean, okay, if I was a lawyer, I wouldn't have the power, I wouldn't have the means of being able to reach as many people as I do. It's a platform, it's very much a platform. To be in the public eye, to be famous. I appreciate it now, and obviously when you are in the thick of your career and you know you're riding high, you're on the crest of a wave, you take everything for granted, or most things for granted, and I did.
What do you want to use the platform for though, Chris?
For getting my message across to the grassroots, which is basically explaining how one can achieve, talking to youngsters about restraint, consideration, discipline, getting views across to the youngsters. I'm passionate about that, and I always have been. But that's never come across through the press, unfortunately, It doesn't sell copy. My truck sells copy. My Aston Martin sells copy. Where I go on holiday, concording to New, that sells copy. But speaking to youngsters about good conduct and restraint and being clean, and listening and trying to listen, and trying to understand, this doesn't get copy, unfortunately. So my motivation, I must do something, and this is what I need to do. I don't want to do it, I need to do it. I have a yearning to get that message across, not only to youngsters, to anyone who wants to listen. It's just good conduct, being a good person.
Yeah. What, Stephen, what weight do you fight at?
Super middleweight.
Super middleweight. What's your surname?
Pringle.
Twiggle?
Yeah.
It's not a boxer's name, is it?
It's not, it will be soon. Don't go call me a cocky fellow or nothing, but a fighter knows when a fighter's in condition. And I know right now that I'm in condition. I predict that I will be the next Muhammad Ali. I want to go up into heavyweight championship of the world in a few years' time when I hit the...
You went 40 times a day.
All right, okay,
Oh,
well,
dear.
lose you now. It's one of our rules. Hysterical woman comes on the phone. We have to cut you off.
Come on, let's have serious women about sport. Elliot now from London. Hi, Elliot.
Hi there.
Hi.
Hi, Chris.
Hello.
Basically, I'd like to know, how would you rate yourself as a British middleweight in terms of the last 50 years?
How would I rate myself?
Yeah, in terms of all the British middleweight world champions.
Well, that's, I can't answer that. That's not for me to answer. If I answer that, then I would lose credibility in, if not your eyes, in many people's eyes, because for any man to talk of his own achievements is not good. So all I can do is ask you, what do you think?
What do I think? Well, to be honest, I feel that a lot of times you disrespect a lot of the old champions because of the value that you hold boxing in terms of your own career and the means to which you've used boxing for. And especially champions like Randy Turpin and Terry Downs, I believe their aggressiveness, which was shown from Steve Collins, would have just basically battered you all over the ring. I honestly don't think you could have held a candle to them. I think they were fantastic fighters, and for you to speak about boxing in the manner that you do, I don't think it's a good role model for the kids. You speak a lot about being a role model, but I think it's an incredibly poor role model for a lot of young kids, and especially young kids who are starting up boxing in the amateur ranks.
But you are talking of boxing. You see, I'm not talking of boxing, I talk of being a man or being a person. You're speaking of boxing. Boxing is my conduit to actually getting to these youngsters. It's why I'm inspired to fight, because it gives me a platform, as I just pointed out. And in fact, you're saying that I talk about boxing in a derogatory type fashion or way. No, I speak about boxing in a sensible way. If you're still on the line, I'd like you to say one thing that I've said that I could not justify as far as sensible people is concerned. Is he still on the line?
Elliot?
Elliot's
Hi
there?
there, yeah.
Yeah, could you tell me, I mean, I mean, obviously it's a show, so we don't have a great deal of time, but if you can hit me with your best shot in regards to something I've said about boxing, which is disrespected past champions, if you will,